Joining us on the line now for more on those producer price index figures is Azar Jammine. He's director and chief economist at the independent economics business Econometrix. Azar, every month we get these rafts of data. For those of us who don't analyze them to the degree that you do, it seems much of a muchness. Last month the producer price index was up 8.1%. This month it's up 8%. Is there anything in there that we should be taking note of?
Yes, you've got to bear in mind that the figure that most people quote is the PPI inflation rate for final manufactured goods. But that is just one of a series of 5 PPI inflation rates that are released. And in 4 out of the 5 cases, we had declines, and in 3 out of the 5, fairly significant declines. For example, even though the PPI inflation rate for final manufactured goods declined only marginally from 8.1 down to 8%, the PPI inflation rate for intermediate goods declined quite sharply from 9 to 8.5%. For electricity and water, it fell from 8.2 to 7.8, and from agriculture from 4.5 to 3.9. Now, you've got to bear in mind that these latest declines are merely the latest of a string of about 3 successive fairly significant declines in all the categories. The only one that is an exception is the PPI inflation rate for mining, which rose from 5.8 to 7.8.
Azar, I know we have to look at these data and believe them, but when you say that the inflation rate for electricity was only 7%, wow. How does that work?
Well, the main reason is because, you know, Eskom demands a tariff increase. At the moment, it's been 8% for the past year, so this 7.8% is more or less in line with that. But basically, the PPI inflation rate is based on all the tariffs that are increased, not only for the average consumer, but for specific businesses. So there can, from time to time, be a deviation between the PPI inflation rate for electricity and that of what consumers are paying for electricity, because some of your big players might either have got a big increase, a bigger than average increase, or a smaller than average increase.
Now, you've unpacked the numbers for us quite nicely. If you overlay that onto the economic growth number that was released earlier this week of 0.6%, how do the two sit next to each other?
Well, they tend to coincide with one another. The reason why the PPI inflation rate is falling is clearly the rand has been stabilizing for the last 8 months. So the pass-through effect from the earlier depreciation is gradually fizzling away, which is making it more and more difficult for businesses to keep passing on cost increases to users of their products. And that is a reflection of the very weak state of economic growth that we're in. And so both the GDP figures and the lower PPI inflation figures point to the same thing, namely a very weak economy.
And an economy that's pretty much where we were about 5 years ago. Not such good news for the job creation pundits. I suppose one can always talk up a good game. You have got to deliver on the scoreboard as well, though. Well, that was Azar Jammine, who's director and chief economist at Econometrix.